Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. I am Deborah Rumbaugh, the Superintendent of the Stanwood-Camano School District, and I'm joined this evening with
Evan Caldwell, Director of Communication with the school district.
And we are here to share some information and answer any questions that anybody might have regarding our upcoming replacement levy, which will be on the ballot on February 13th.
Yes, coming up soon. Ballots will be out in mailboxes, I think, starting maybe late next week. We've been out in the community a lot, talking to people, getting lots of good questions, a lot of good feedback. This is part of an information campaign. We just want to make sure that everyone has all the facts information before them so they can help make their decision. So let's get started and just talk about some of the kind of key aspects about the district that were surprising to people as we're out and about.
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the things that have really stood out as we've had the opportunity to talk with folks is that we are the largest employer in the community. So we employ just under 1,000 individuals, and most of those live here locally. And that also makes us the largest employer in the community. So the implications of that and our levy are even better reason for us to share this information tonight.
Yeah. People out and about have I think they kind of knew it, but it's always kind of surprising to hear.
Yes, always a good reminder.
Yeah. So we've been out kind of telling people what we can and cannot do.
Mm-hmm. We always like to pause. As a school district, our job is to share information about the levy, and that's it, just facts and information for folks so that everyone can vote how they choose.
And you can always go to our website, stanwood.wednet.edu/levy to get even more. So the big question, what is on the ballot?
All right, great question. So what is on the ballot is a replacement levy for a current levy we have that is expiring next month. And this levy is our second largest source of revenue. So you can see up here that we get about 76% of our revenues from the state and a little bit from the feds, about 6%. But our second largest source of revenue is our local levy. And that helps us bridge the gap between what we're allocated from the state and our actual costs to be able to serve kids and families.
So that money we get from the state, they're calling that basic education funding. So tell everyone kind of what is basic education?
Yeah, great question. So as a result of the McCleary lawsuit several years ago, the state of Washington was required to do a couple of things, one of which was to define basic education. And so that sort of represents that light gray band that you see up there. And basic education, loosely defined, is what happens for kids from the starting bell to the ending bell. And so what that doesn't include are things like athletics and activities and cheer, other programs that might happen before the school day, after the school day, or ancillary to the school day. And so while it is true that the state funds basic education, that definition of basic education is pretty limiting. And so that's where our levy dollars come in to help out.
Yes. So how do people pay toward that local levy?
Yeah, so this is one of our most commonly asked questions. So the graphic that you can see up here tries to show that voters approve a fixed amount. So that's kind of the fulcrum here on our teeter-totter example. And what we know is that folks pay towards that fixed amount through taxes. And in the world of property taxes, as your property values go up, your property taxes go up. Yeah. But if we were to set that aside and just focus on levies actually work the opposite way. So you can see here in this graphic, as your property values increase, the amount that you contribute to the levy goes down. And that's been a real big surprise for many, many folks in our community. And part of the reason that rate goes down as property values go up is because there are more opportunities to contribute to the levy, often more properties. And so we pay a little bit less.
Yeah, people have asked us that question, and they're kind of surprised to know that like school districts cap that voter-approved amount of dollars that they can collect. So we don't just get to keep collecting more and more like our state property taxes do to us sometimes.
Yep, that amount we collect is capped. It's approved by the voters. So skyrocketing costs or home values wouldn't allow us to collect more.
Yep. So how do we spend that money?
Right. So one of the things that we want to be sure that we really focus on is the fact that these levy dollars get into the hands of our kids and really help us support students. So some of the things that we like to point out is that our funding allows us to have paraeducators in classrooms to help teachers. That allows kids to have small group interventions and to have extra support as they need it. That also allows us to keep class sizes smaller than they typically would be, and allows for supervision of students, making sure that kids are safe. And really a big piece for our community is funding all of those extracurricular activities, including athletics and safety.
Yep. So this kind of goes back to that capped dollar amount, but then what we like, or what people are liking to know, is kind of how that relates to what they pay on their bill, right?
Yes, the rate. And so what we've tried to show here, and this is out in the community in lots of different places, is
in mailboxes.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
More information out there, yeah. Sorry to interrupt.
The rate that we ask property owners to pay is something that we like to keep as low as possible. And so in 2019, voters approved a $10 million levy, and that translated into property owners paying $1.50 per $1,000 of assessed value. And you can see over time that's kind of gone up and down and up and down. And the levy that's expiring next month, the rate for taxpayers is $1.42 per $1,000 of assessed value. And what the good news is for our community is that we anticipate that rate to remain the same over the next 4 years. So although we are, the total ask increases because of inflation and higher enrollment.
And more people moving to the area, contributing into that. Yeah.
Yep, the rate stays the same.
Yeah. And we're not the only ones running a school levy. Lakewood is running the same levy at $1.72, and Arlington's running theirs at $1.65, and Mount Vernon is running theirs at $2.50. So just good information for people to know.
Yep. And our school board works very hard to try to keep that rate as low as possible for our local community.
Yep. So then this is kind of a specific way people ask where specifically is that gap that we're trying to fill with levy dollars.
Yes. So this isn't an inclusive list, but it highlights a few of the things that really stand out and demonstrate why we need those local levy dollars. So first one on the list is nursing. So as part of basic education, the state takes a look at a school district's enrollment and a couple of other factors, and then they calculate what a school district is going to be allocated based upon that definition of basic education. So in this example, the state of Washington funds the Stanwood-Camano School District for 4.3 nurses, and that's across 10 of our buildings. And we know that to support the students that we serve that have a variety of medical needs and supports, we need almost 10 nurses. And so 5.5 of our nurses are funded directly through the levy.
Yeah.
A couple of other examples. Student and staff safety is a big one. This one's kind of shocking. Most people are really surprised.
We get lots of questions. Yes.
Yeah. So the state funds less than one position to keep our district across, again, 10 buildings safe for students and staff. And we actually employ 9.2 positions. And so nearly all of our safety staff is funded with that levy. And that includes our school resource officer at the high school, our safety officer at the high school, and then the many, many individuals that work our crosswalks up at Cedar Home and do recess supervision and all the things that keep us safe.
Get everyone safely from point A to point B. Our commissioned officer and non-commissioned officer, they're based at the high school, but they serve the entire district. They run training throughout the entire district. Because they're not just the high school.
Yep. The other one, Evan, that's also kind of a shocker for folks is athletics. So we talked about that basic education definition is starting bell to ending bell. And so athletics, activities, cheer, any of those extra things that bring our kids to school that are really engaging for students and families, and athletics in particular, not part of basic education. And so all 106 of our coaching positions are funded through the levy.
So another way to break down kind of where that money goes into different little chunks is also eye-opening to some of the people in the community. So let's talk about kind of where the money goes.
Right. So about 60% of the funds that we get from our levy go to supplement our regular education programs. So that allows us to be able to run all of the classes in the secondary buildings that our students want to take. It also allows us to keep class sizes down and to have paraeducators in the classroom to help students, to help teachers. So about 60% goes there. And then about 25% does really the same thing on the special education side. So while we do get special education funding, it isn't sufficient for any school district's actual needs. And so the levy ensures that we, in fact, have enough special education teachers to serve all of our students. And then that bottom left-hand corner, that's an interesting one. So that's about 15% that helps our support services. And going back to that definition of basic education, you'll notice that transportation is in there. So any of the busing that our students would take for, field trips, but really specifically athletics and activities, not part of basic education. So that helps with funding. And some of that exists in our food service as well.
Yeah. So going back to some of our neighboring districts, we've been getting that question, kind of how do we compare our tax rate versus some of the other ones across the state? We had some interesting questions today about across the nation, which isn't exactly an apples to apples, but we did some research.
Yeah.
And so tell us about kind of where we stand.
Yes. So we have 295 districts in the state of Washington. And if we were to rank those from the district that had the highest rate, so that, $1, $2, $3, to the one that had the lowest rate, that'd be number 295. We're down at the 189th position. So, closer certainly to the bottom than the top. And then if we just look at Snohomish County, we have 14 school districts in Snohomish County. And again, if you rank them in order from the district with the highest rate to the lowest rate, we are number 11. So third from the bottom compared to our peer districts.
Yep, good information to know. We're trying to keep it short and sweet tonight, but does anybody have any questions out there? Any questions online? No, this is great.
Right.
Very well-informed community is how
great,
I like
great.
to hear it.
If anybody is ever interested in any of us coming out and joining them, whether it's in your home or your church or just a group of friends, just let us know and we would be more than happy to answer questions in person.
Yep. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yep. Have a good night.